Look at this dude.
I couldn't decide whether I wanted to be a blood or a crip. Half blue, half purple. I called that day sky, night sky. I was really giving off some Dennis Rodman vibes. So you're gonna have to tune into the finale to see what the real Dye-sasterous Dye-lemma was. What's up, clan? It's your boy Africantaloupe coming at you with part 3 of a trilogy that's just as bad as the Star Wars prequels. Now, speaking of trilogies, by the way, this story begins on October 21st, 2015, which is a very special moment for a very special 3-part sci-fi trilogy. If you've ever seen the 1980s movies Back to the Future parts 1 through 3, you'll probably remember that at the end of part 1, we saw Marty McFly and Doc Brown flying off to the future to stop some terrible event that Marty McFly's children are involved in. We then find out at the beginning of part 2 that the day that they are traveling to is October 21st, 2015. When that day showed up in real life, some movie theaters around the United States decided to honor the Back to the Future trilogy by replaying it and letting fans relive the nostalgia on the big screen. You paid about $10 and got a 6-hour viewing experience for the ages. And one of the movie theaters that was playing the Back to the Future trilogy just so happened to be one that was located about 3.5 miles away from my house. Now, remember that information, it does play into the story. There's one more thing you guys need to know. On October 22nd, there was going to be a football game at my high school, but it wasn't just a normal football game. The reason why this football game was so special was because it was going to raise awareness for breast cancer and people suffering from the disease. And my school wanted everyone to show their support by wearing pink. And me wanting to be a little more creative than everyone else and also wanting to relive the events from National Selfie Day from a year earlier, I decided that instead of wearing a pink shirt or a pink hat, pink pants, pink underwear, pink socks, I decided that instead I was going to dye my hair pink. Was it a good idea? No, but I did it anyway. Since I was going to the Back to the Future trilogy with one of my friends, I figured we should go to the store first and get the hair dye before the movie started, watch all the movies, and then when I got home, I was going to go ahead and dye my hair, and I would still probably have enough time to get a good night's sleep afterwards, since the movies were going to be over at around 11:30, which means I would be getting home around 11:10, 11:15. So me and my friend, we go to Walmart to pick up the hair dye, and there wasn't a lot of brands that carried pink hair dye, but there was one, and it was, you guessed it, Splat hair dye. Now, we all know from part 1 my feelings on Splat hair dye. It's not the best hair dye for your hair because it kind of damages it really, really badly. The cheapest hair dye was called Splat, and looking back at all the damage it did to my hair, I can honestly say that it's really that cheap for a really good reason. Do not buy it. If you want a quality dye job, you need to pay some quality dollars, okay? Splat will just fuck you up. I know usually regular hair dye does damage your hair, but it feels like this one does it just a little bit more. But there was something special about the pink hair dye because it came in 2 separate boxes. One box was for a 24-hour washable dye job, and the other one was for a more permanent dye job that wouldn't wash out no matter how much you washed your hair. Now, I was going to go with the 24-hour hair dye because I only wanted to use it for the breast cancer game, but they were all out of stock. I'm assuming everyone had the same idea that I did. So I guess it wasn't really that original or creative, but that's besides the point. I instead decided to grab the permanent hair dye, and I say the worst words you could possibly say in a situation like this. I say, it's just hair dye, what's the worst that could happen? And just like that, I jinxed myself and the worst possible thing began to transpire. Now, me and my friend pulled into the movie theater about a couple minutes late to the first part, and I don't really mind because part 1 isn't really my favorite part. In my opinion, a trilogy's best part is always part 3. So me and my friend watched part 1 and we watched part 2, but in the intermission between parts 2 and 3, my friend gets a call from his mom saying he needs to get home right now. So he asked me if he should take me home or not. And I tell him no, since I really want to watch part 3. And I tell him to instead take the hair dye and put it in a bush. And then I told him to take the hair dye and put it in a bush. Fuck! I told him to take the hair dye and put it in a bush, and then I would watch part 3, and then when I was done, I'd just take the hair dye and I'd walk home. So the marathon ends, and I start the 3-mile hike back home, and since I was a really slow walker back then, I didn't get home until around 12:30, and I guess it didn't really help that all my energy had been gone from like rooting on my favorite trilogy of all time for like 6 hours straight. But when I got home, I still wanted to get the dye job done regardless of how tired I was. I figured, you know, maybe if I did it really fast, I would be able to, you know, still get a decent night's sleep, maybe like 3-4 hours or so, and still have enough to get through the day and get to the football game. And so I went into the bathroom and I got to work. Since it was late, I couldn't really ask for any help on this one, so I had to fly solo, which was the biggest mistake. So I bleach my hair and I dye it, and I have to wait about an hour for the dye to set in before I can wash out all the excess. But before the hour was up, all the exhaustion of the day had finally caught up to me, and I straight up passed out on the bathroom floor. So I wake up to the sound of somebody banging on the bathroom door, and so I get up off the floor and I open the door, and it's my mom, and she takes one look at me and her face turns ghost white. And she goes, "What did you do to your hair?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And so I turn to face the mirror, and that's when I see that something went terribly, horribly wrong. Because my hair was completely blonde with pink splotches everywhere. It just looked disgusting. And so my jaw is practically hanging on the bathroom sink right now, and I go to the tub and I start scrubbing the shit out of my hair. But do you guys remember when I said that I had to get the permanent hair dye instead of the 24-hour washable hair dye? Well, it turns out the permanent hair dye, it's labeled permanent for a reason. Yeah. And so that, of course, didn't work. And so my mom, she gave me the idea to just shave off all my hair and just go bald for the next couple of months. And yeah, no, I don't like being bald. I like my hair on my head because when I'm bald, I look really stupid. Stupider than usual. Imagine Caillou if he had a big fucking nose and it was black. So after a couple minutes of arguing, I eventually agreed to cut my hair because I figured looking like Caillou would be better than looking like a guy with blonde and pink hair. Yeah. So after I shaved my hair, you'd think that that would be the end of it, you know? I'd be just fine, I just have to deal with a little bit of laughing and teasing about my bald head. But it turns out, cutting off my hair actually revealed an even bigger issue. You see, since I wasn't able to wash out all the excess hair dye after the hour was up, the hair dye sank into my hair and set on my scalp. So not only was my hair blonde and pink, my scalp was blonde and pink. I couldn't escape the dye because it bonded with me like a damn symbiote.
What the hell are you? We are
a fucking idiot. So at this point, I'm on like DEFCON 5, fucking emergency alert, national emergency, like nukes falling from the sky. I was just freaking out, okay? And so I went back to the tub and started scrubbing the shit out of my hair, but nothing was working, you know? Permanent is permanent for a reason. So at this time, my mom decides that she's had enough of my BS, and so she tells me to get ready and go to school. And so I look at her like, "Are you kidding, Mom? I'm having a midlife crisis at 17, and you want me to go to school so I can face everyone there looking like this?" And so she looks at me like, "Well, it's not my fault you're a fucking idiot and didn't fucking dye your hair right. Get your ass to school." No, she didn't actually say that. That's just the look on her face, okay? That's what I interpreted, okay? My mom didn't call me a fucking idiot. And so I get ready and I go to school and I grab a hat and I decide I'm gonna wear that hat for the entire day just to stave off any criticism. And so I get to school, and when I go to the mathematics hallway, the hall monitor, she gets up out of her seat and she walks over to me and she goes, you need to take your hat off, you know the rules. And so I look at her, I smile, and I politely say, ma'am, you really don't want me to do that. And so she glares at me and raises her voice and goes, I said take the hat off. And so I'm like, all right, fine, you asked for it. And so I take the hat off, and she goes, holy shit, put the hat back on. And so I put the hat back on, and she goes, Jesus Christ, you look like a deviled egg. You know, I really liked high school. So Hall monitor let me wear the hat for the entire day, but the next day, she told me that she couldn't bend the rules for me any longer, which was understandable. So I took off the hat and I went into my first period class. So I walk in the room and everyone goes dead silent when they see me. And honestly, I can understand why, because what would you say to a guy who walked in with a pink and yellow head? So pretty much what I had to do was I had to wait for my hair to grow back, because when my hair grew, it pushed the dye off of my head and onto my hair. And then I would cut my hair off and then let it happen a couple more times. So this happened about 4 times before all the dye was completely out of my hair. And so I found out a couple years later that my friend literally had to tell everyone to stop laughing at me every time I was about to come through the door. And also, they nicknamed me Deviled Egg. Have I told you how much I love high school? One of the upsides to this whole Dye-sasterous Dye-lemma was that it made me kind of popular at high school, and this newfound popularity helped me in a certain event at the end of senior year. But that is a story for another day. Thank you all so much for watching this 3-part series on my Dye-sasterous Dye-lemma. I hope you all enjoyed laughing at my pain, and if you did, leave a like down below and subscribe and ring that notification bell to be notified every time I upload. Leave a comment down below about what you liked or hated about this video, and don't forget to follow my socials in the description below, where I occasionally post up behind the scenes posts and updates on new videos. And that's all from me. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a sudden craving for deviled eggs. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.